Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Zicast. I'm your host, Ryan Ziaks, and today I'm joined by filmmaker Vladimir Maruska.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be
Yeah,
here.
so happy to have you here, Vladimir. I'm excited to learn about your journey in filmmaking and all of the projects you've been able to work on. So, how
Mhm.
about you kick things off by telling us a bit about yourself?
Well, I grew up at Lancaster, MA, around Mary Rowlandson Elementary School, small kind of suburb area. And I've always been kind of in the acting arena of filmmaking. So I grew up, in musicals and I used to do a lot of summer programs with musicals, singing, and all this. Being on stage was kind of like the place I found where I could be my most creative. And slowly that transitioned into filmmaking in high school. And yeah, I mean, ever since high school, I've been like expanding my ideas and everything through filmmaking. I mean, I want to learn all aspects as much as I can. So from high school to now college, I'm learning directing, editing. I mean, just camera movement, lighting, as much as I can, really, just because it's such a broad aspect to make a film. So I'm trying to learn as many interesting and many aspects of it as I can, so that if I'm ever looking at a project, I'm not only writing for it or helping on gaff or whatever, but I'm also able to give tips on cinematography or tips on lighting because I've known those aspects. So kind of just broadening my aspects now.
Was there a specific moment when you realized you wanted to sort of transition from the stage to the screen?
I mean, it was slowly kind of in middle school where I first learned that I could be on stage and I love being on stage. And it
Mhm.
was something that not a lot of people that I noticed, not a lot of people had. Like for me growing up, I've always been kind of, talkative, high energy. And to put that on stage, it was, it kind of relieved a little bit. So I guess through middle school and high school, I never even considered like, oh, camera acting is something that I could also be a part of. I mean, I've always watched movies and loved the absolute, like the spectacles of like growing up with like Star Wars and
Mhm.
Marvel and all that. I mean, seeing all those action heroes and everything. And I never really imagined myself as that until I think about high school, when during senior year, when I was part of my first short film project, and then learned from that. I figured out, oh my god, I can make films too. And then
Mhm.
from then on, I just kind of started pursuing and making as much as I could out of myself. So yeah.
Yeah, and then you found yourself in Star Wars, which we'll
Oh yeah.
talk
Oh
about
yeah.
a little
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
little bit later. But something or how we know each other is we're both a part of their Drawdown Studios,
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
very upstart film studio. Do you mind telling us about your experience co-founding that and how that's kind of shaped your film journey? And also explain what it is.
Yeah. So Third Drawer Down is the small studio that I founded with my friends, or I founded with Ronan, Tyler, and Patrick. And
Mhm.
it kind of formed together. So we kind of formed a bond over a couple of movies that we were making and just our love for film. And we were kind of like, we should just start working together on these things. I think it was in high school where Tyler was part of the kind of like podcasting and journaling part of the like kind of we had like a journaling era in high school, and he was kind of part of that area, and I was part of the theater area with my friend Ronan. So we were acting, and Tyler was speaking on journalism and stuff. And then slowly, as high school progressed, we learned like, oh, we want to make movies together. And then we're like, oh my god, Star Wars movies, we could do this, we could do that. And so it kind of just blossomed into kind of this companionship of Tyler wants to do exactly what me and Ronan don't want to do,
Mhm.
which is basically like the editing, the planning, and all of like the technical tech stuff and the camera angles and stuff. And then Tyler doesn't want to do exactly what me and Ronan want to do, which is acting and being on camera and doing all the details of the stories and the writing and everything. We're all learning like our parts as we're working together. But I mean, Third Drawer Down is kind of that alliance of, we want to work together and we want to be able to bring each other up. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, Third Drawer Down really is kind of that inspiration put into a studio.
Yeah, and when you're building a team, you want to find people who want to do what you don't want to do, kind of like you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And kind of everyone plays their parts.
Hmm.
And I'm curious, was there a specific moment, even in that, when you guys realized you wanted to go into business together, so to speak?
I mean, for me, I mean, from high school into college, I've always known I was like, yeah, I want to be in the movie business. I want
Mhm.
to be writing. I want to be doing some sort of um, creative that goes into movie format.
Mhm.
And I think, along that way, we all kind of figured out, yeah, we work really well together, and we kind of all have these different skills that just really work together, I guess. And then through that, we're learning, like, I mean, some of my friends that like are coming to me and saying, hey, I saw your film, it was awesome, do you think maybe I could act at some point? Like, I've been thinking about trying it out. And that right there is kind of the entire reason why I started it, is so that it could open up a creative where other people could also be lifted up, where it's not just a platform for us to show our skills, but it's also a platform where, someone who wants to be able to act, or wants to be able to have a chance to sing, or even just visit the set and like learn how a movie is made. That's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to give those people a way to learn and build their own creative and, imaginative ways of making their own films.
Yeah. And what you just described is precisely how I found myself involved in seeing.
Yeah. And I'm so
Patrick
glad. Yeah.
doing awesome stuff and then wanting to be a part of it. I'm also curious, where did the name come from?
Oh, I actually don't specifically know. I know that we were voting for multiple names after we had MMJ Studios. Because it was originally me, Tyler, and Ronan who started it. And then we had Patrick. We were like, all right, we can't have our last names. We want it to be something communicative. And so we came up with the idea, and I think we had like multiple names. I mean, there were some astonishingly bad ones that I voted for. I was like, oh, this is funny, we should do this. And people were like, no, that's not our public name. That can't be it. I won't say any of those names. But I think we landed on Third Drawer Down. I think it was I think it was or one of the short films that we have. I think it was Paranoid. We grabbed something from one of the third drawers down, and there's like pizza in it. I think it was like an inside joke or some kind. But I just know that it's a name that we all communitively were like, yeah, this is a great name. We voted on it.
And it rolls off the tongue well too.
Yeah. At first I was like, and then it kind of grew on me. So
yeah, and it's very much memorable and very much stands out too, which is exactly what you want. And to get back onto mentioning that you were playing a Jedi, or mention that you were in Star Wars, you played a Jedi in a fan-made Star Wars film, which was one of my first introductions to Third Drawer Down. Do you mind explaining that whole process in that film?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, it is way beyond what I first even intentioned for it to be. The first Star Wars short that we released was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be it. Me and Ronan had lightsabers, and we were practicing choreography together. We were like, and I mean, we've grown up, me and Ronan grew up together. I mean, playing with lightsabers all throughout our childhood. So doing this choreography really was just nostalgic fun and just really camaraderie. And then and Tyler, I know at the time we were trying to get into doing video and film with Tyler. Because this was a little bit after I did my first short film, and I was like, all right, I want to start doing some more action and more, nerdy stuff, because that's how we got into film. And I was like, I kind of want to reflect some of that. And so we got Tyler to film it, and we kind of did a one night, we memorized a lot of choreography and did a long, improvised of shots and mirroring shots and takes and everything. And then Tyler edited it, and me, Tyler, and Ronan all looked at this, and we were like, oh my gosh, we should do more. And I think after that, we got Patrick to do visual effects for the next one. And by the time the next one came out, I think I already outlined the entirety of the next 4 or 5. I think there's 5 total that we have planned. And I already had the entire outline of all the episodes in my head by the time we had the first or second one out. So that turned into a very big passion project. I mean, we were out there just doing, lightsaber stuff, just experimenting and just having fun. And then it turned into something that we, actual characters, actual stories, and actual things, that just came from us communicating together. So, I mean, that entire process though, I mean, choreography, writing, just amazing. I mean, especially when you're working with that kind of material, and Star Wars is just so close to all of our hearts that we were legitimately thinking about, is this canon? Would this actually happen in Star Wars? Is this realistic? And then on top of that, we were like, all right, we want to up the choreography. We want to make this as Star Wars lightsaber fighty as we can. We want it to be fast. We want it to be good. So I really hope, and I hope what people can see is that after every film, we kind of improve upon what we did last time. And so that's kind of our way of, growing with each other through this small film project.
Yeah, I'll never forget my introduction to it. I was sitting in my school's cafeteria,
Mhm.
Quinnipiac, and I just get a text from Pat, and he says, "Turn around," and I just see him at
Mhm.
another table editing it, and he's like, "Take a look at this," and he flips his computer
My
around, and I see
gosh.
Star Wars on my laptop, on his laptop. I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, what is this?"
Yeah.
So, do you mind taking us through, of course, what the films are called and kind of what the plot of it surrounds?
So the first one I think we came out with was Harmony. And we kind of, I think we had, before we even finished editing it, we didn't have a name for it. It was going to be like an unnamed sort of like project that we had. But then I was like, all right, we can start making more of these. And then we had an outline, and then I had the names for all of them. So if you're a real Star Wars nerd, you might have caught this. But
Mhm,
the names reflect, I think, the codes of the Force, the Jedi code.
mhm,
So I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's something along the line of, if there's no chaos, there's no chaos, there's harmony, there's no something, there is knowledge, and there's no something, and there's no peace, there is only the Force. And
mhm,
if you go through the line of those, the episodes line up with each of those. So there's, I think, 5 pillars of code, and there's
mhm,
5 episodes that we have, and each pillar of whatever it is, inspiration or wisdom, one of the names of those things, so wisdom, knowledge, harmony, are the titles of the shorts. And I
mhm,
kind of try to include a little bit of, harmony, peace, and stuff in these episodes, in little details and stuff, if people caught it. But going through this, I mean, it was a process of figuring out what we wanted to tell, and kind of the journey of each character in each episode.
mhm.
Specifically, I mean, Lance and Valix are kind of our main characters. Lance is the good, and Valix is the bad. And kind of through this short, we're showing the shift of these two characters. I hope so. I'm really excited for the
Mhm.
next one, actually.
Yeah, and you acted in it with your sister as well.
Yes, yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. That was actually, I think, the first film I had Zia, who's my sister, act in. And she did a great job. I mean, we had a lot of fun together, just the two of us. I mean, we grew up singing and doing theater as well.
Mm,
So we have a lot of similar interests. She loves musicals. So I was like, yeah, why don't I get Zia to act as my sister in this project? And she did. She did a great job. She blew me away. I mean,
mm,
we did choreography training, not as much as the first one. We had less time, and she kind of surpassed the ideas that I had for a character. So I'm really proud of her for all the work she put into it, and especially the other project that I'm hoping to include her on. So
mm. 'Cause the plot really surrounds it was a Sith versus a Jedi, right? Would
yeah,
you be able to take us into that a little bit?
yeah. I mean, for the entirety of it, I don't want to spoil too much because
Mm,
I'm still writing the next episode, but
mhm,
the idea I had was, we're always doing these stories of, Jedi turned Sith, or Sith turned Jedi. And it's just, I felt like this story, the way I'm telling it, the way I'm hoping to end it, might be a little bit different
mm,
than what you usually see in Star Wars. Um, I mean, we obviously had to have a Jedi and a Sith fighting each other. But the morality is something I'm really trying to harness and focus on. The choices they make, and kind of the paths they choose to take in these stories. And so I'm really working hard on detail writing. I've always worked
mm,
hard on like writing very specifically for characters and
mm.
details. So I really hope that's shining through in the short films that I'm making.
Yeah, and especially sticking to the lore of Star Wars too, like you're
Oh yeah,
trying to,
absolutely.
in a
Yeah.
way, fit it into the canon and tell your own
Mhm.
story. And he mentions too with the kind of editing process too, kind of mixing that with the choreography.
Yeah.
What was that like, kind of editing lightsaber combat?
I wasn't there to see them editing it,
Mm,
sadly. But I do know that part of the process, I mean, it's a little tricky. I mean, trying to plan out as a director, like the choreography, the camera angles, and how it's going to
mhm,
shift and stuff. It very much it teaches a valuable lesson, which is plan ahead, which
mhm,
is something that I did not do for a lot of the Star Wars films. But we're starting to do a lot more for our new films. I mean, we're learning right away, like, oh my gosh, we should have planned ahead for this.
mhm,
But I think it's always fun because I always like to find, little shortcuts around it and things that work well with it.
mhm,
And sometimes it surprises you, like the things we come up with on the spot. there's some shots that I can't think of right now, but that we've come up with on the spot that have really shined through the film. And it's really that original creative thought when you're in the process of it that, you know, you can really shine through. But the films, I mean, the editing, I mean, it has to be fast. I mean, I remember we were talking about doing combat maybe a little bit slower because we were practicing so fast for the first one. And then for the other one, we're like, all right, maybe we want to speed this up a little bit because we were a little bit slower. But I do know that Tyler does a wonderful job editing all the shots and even capturing like the way I explain things, the vision I have. He's so good at just reading my mind sometimes for specific shots. So I love him for that.
Yeah, and it's very much filmmaking 101 to grow with each experience.
Yeah,
And also
absolutely.
there's always going to be problems, many of which you can't prepare for, and you just kind of keep on going, and then having that kind of synergy with your DP, like what you have with Tyler, makes everything so much easier. And I'm curious, like through all of these films, what would you want diehard fans to take away from it?
We've kind of improved, I think, through each of the stories. I mean, every time, personally for me, when I rewatch a film, I'm always looking at, oh, we could have done that better, or oh my gosh, that shot could have been so much better, or oh man, if we did this in the story, it could have ended this, blah, blah, blah. So I'm always critiquing myself, and it's always hard for me to see like what the good is in the project. But what I hope that people can see, that I sometimes see, is the improvements. You know, kind of how in the first project we had, you know, lighting issues. I mean, there's always going to be issues with a project, I feel, and there's always different ways to make it different. Maybe not improve it, but make it different. And so I always feel that looking at these projects, I'm always proud to see, you know, the lighting get better, or my dialogue gets better, or my writing gets better, or my combat gets better, or the camera angle gets better. You know, I always like to see myself self-improve, and also others help me improve as well. So if I do something wrong, they call me out on it, and I'm able to improve on that. So I hope the fans can see, you know, kind of the process that we go through, and kind of hopefully I hope they see a pattern in our filmmaking when it comes to Star Wars as well.
Yeah, it just that overall growth, like I said before, and also just the passion you have for the source material, I should say, which is very apparent. And something I meant to ask you earlier was, you mentioned the choreography, you and your sister having that background in theater. Whenever I think of like the Star Wars prequels, for example, I think of how well choreographed those lightsaber duels are, and how well they are, how well choreographed they are in your film. Do you think the theater background helps in that?
Honestly, I think that my nerd background helps a lot more in it. I say that because Zia is more theater oriented and more dance oriented and more steps and counting oriented, which is great. But when it comes to choreography and action and fighting, it's kind of the same thing, but way different. I mean, when me and Ronan started doing choreography for this project, it was easy as cake, because we grew up sword fighting, and so we grew up analyzing, you know, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all these epic battles and everything, and took that and then actually did it, you know, with sticks and fake lightsabers and everything. And so doing it for us was so natural. And then when we tried to get Zia to do it, we were like, oh my gosh, she's doing things we never even imagined that people would do wrong. I mean, you know, when we hold lightsabers, we're so natural with it because we've been experienced with it so much. And then she was rigid the first time, and we were like, oh my gosh, wait, oh, that, of course, so you were going to be rigid, because that's like just so natural for us to do. So I would say it honestly worked against it in some ways, because you're used to that beat of a song. Instead, a fight scene is almost like you're working with like kind of like a flow. You know, once you're in that flow, you can work well together and work off of each other with your own beats. So I you know, music and choreography when fighting can very much converge together, but I think in some cases can also work against each other, because you're looking for that rhythm, and sometimes in fight scenes that rhythm isn't there, and it's more of like spontaneous, you know, flow. So but I do think, you know, in some instances it can be helpful as well. I mean, for steps, for instance, moving forward as you're fighting is sometimes the hardest thing to do. But she was very good at it, because she's so good at dancing and moving her arms as well. So there's like different little details in fighting, movement, and everything that kind of, you know, worked well together and worked against each other when it comes to, you know, lightsaber fighting and dancing, I would say. So
would it be ironic to say you had to find the balance of the two?
Absolutely.
I think that kind of brings that all full circle, and your journey in Star Wars. But I wanted to invite you to talk about Uninvited, of the film that you directed for Third Draw Down Studios, which was another kind of evolution of all the work that you've been doing. Can you talk to us about that project and what that's all meant to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Uninvited, I would say, might be, I think, was the biggest step from my first project.
Mhm,
And kind of how I look at it is, I started, in acting, I started in theater, and then I made A Simple Hunt when I was 16, 17 years old.
mhm,
That was a big achievement because that was the first film I ever made. And that was acting, directing, writing, and editing all at the same time. But this project was the first project I actually only got to direct and write. So I
mhm,
got to focus a lot more on directing.
mhm,
And that was, I mean, it was just the greatest experience of my life. I mean, I had so much fun doing it. I took a lot of time writing it, coming up with these characters. I wanted to create a very classical, cheesy movie. I didn't want to try
mhm,
and do anything new.
mhm,
Which is, I mean, we always want to try and do something new. But for me, I wanted to kind of learn the narrative, kind of learn the kind of like, iconic scary movie, theory. So actually, in preparation for that, I took 6 pages of notes on Get Out, which is one of my other favorite movies, which we can talk about later,
mhm,
in preparation for this. And I mean, horror is just a genre I'm so familiar with because I've grown up around it. My dad actually is a English professor
mhm,
and he teaches horror film classes and other English classes, but he grew up watching horror films and falling in love with them. So I obviously grew up getting traumatized by all these horror films, but I loved them. And so Uninvited was kind of my first, way of creating my own horror film.
mhm,
I had a wonderful time casting it, especially because a lot of the cast were friends I had in theater and grew up with. So communication to actors, communication on set, communication to crew was crucial and very well done. We had a wonderful week filming only on nights and squeezing in as much as we could. I mean, it was quite the adventure. I learned
mhm,
so much about it. I mean, I learned more communication through everyone, but also, lighting, kind of where the camera is going to be, planning out props, planning out, different details in the film itself. But Uninvited overall was, yes, a big step from, I would say A Simple Hunt to Uninvited is very much a step. I can't
mhm,
wait for the next step, which I hope is a bigger project than Uninvited. I mean, I hope I keep improving with these projects. That's the
mhm,
goal. But yes, Uninvited is very much, I think it was very much like a learning project.
mhm,
Not so much to try and do something different and better, but almost to try and do something the same and kind of in my own style. But
mhm.
I love rewatching it. It's great.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to get it to turn.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and that's very interesting to utilize a film just kind of as you said, like kind of like as a learning exercise, taking a familiar genre,
Mhm.
putting your spin on it, but still very much adhering to it. Because Uninvited is very much like Scream or other movies that we've
Absolutely,
seen
yeah, absolutely.
in that genre. Can you take us into the plot a little bit and some of your favorite moments from filming it?
I actually started out writing Uninvited. It was supposed to be much longer than it actually came out to be.
Mhm,
I always do this. I write a script and it's always like like I'm always having a feature length idea and then I have to cut it off into like a short film kind of like segment,
mhm,
which is the problem I had with Uninvited. Because I had a lot. I had I think like 30 or 35 pages for the total script or outline for Uninvited. I was planning on making it 40 minutes.
mhm,
And then I cut it down because I was like, oh no, that's gonna be a lot. That's gonna be too much. Oh, this filming is gonna be too much. So I had to cut it down a little bit. But overall, the plot itself is kind of a bunch of teens, and one of them, the idiot,
mhm,
discovers kind of this ancient relic book. And after reading through it and discovering some journal entries in it, he kind of activates this ancient whatever text that kind of alludes to a magic something happening. After he reads out of the book, there's strange things that start to happen to them that they kind of put to the side because they're all intoxicated and smoking and doing the college guy
mhm,
things. But as the film progresses, they start to get more and more paranoid, turning on each other. And then, they start to see the monster, the kind of creature that's stalking them.
mhm,
And then what I really like about this film is that it almost feels like the entirety of it is a build up to the end.
mhm,
And when the end, as soon as, um, that Craig has that instance with the monster, and it cuts to all the lights turning black, and you have that blue. Then it's like, oh, now we're in it. And from then on, it kind of seems to be, real horror movie instead of, giving all this character context and stuff. Some of my favorite moments, I think, is definitely, oh my gosh, there is a line in that movie where Craig, love the actor, Logan plays Craig, one of my longtime best friends from high school and theater. He says a line in there that is entirely improvised that we all die laughing. And it's when they're ordering pizza online and you're having this back and forth between, I forget, Temmie and I forgot the other name, but they're having this argument, and Craig in the background is ordering pizza and he's totally buzzed. And we were doing this and we had this one shot and I was like, yeah, just, say stuff in the background. You're like, be annoying, whatever. And Craig's like, $35 for Pepsi? And I'm going like, that's a weird thing to say. And it keeps going. We have these back and forth lines and he goes, oh, there's 12 of them. We all just immediately started laughing because that was not written in the script. That was nowhere. And I was like, all right, you got to do that again. So we had him do that take, I think, 2 or 3 different times because we had to have that in the movie. Also, another shot that I really love, it's not in the film, but the teaser for the film was actually done in about an hour. That entire one shot that we planned out, we were like, I had the idea. I forget, actually, I don't know if I had the idea or if Patrick had the idea, but we came to the idea that a one shot through the entire house introducing every character would be an amazing teaser. And so I plotted out the entirety of it, everyone's, choreography, where they were going to go, where they were going to move. And then we did, I think, 2 takes of that. And use the second one for the teaser. So those are a couple moments. And also any of the monster scares or jump scares in the movie, I was always, I think, behind the monster or behind the screen where the monster was. So there's just a lot of shots in there that I feel like specifically were well done. There's a moment at the end where the monster, Logan, who plays Craig, also plays the monster at this moment. And it's kind of that shot where you're looking down the hallway and you kind of have that shot of Ronan who plays I forget his name. I forget the names of my characters all the time. I think it's Sam, the pothead, but he's on the hall, and you have that little sliver of hallway that you're looking down and he kind of sidesteps. And I remember when we watched that first on the monitor after filming it, we all were like, oh my goodness, oh, it's just so creepy. Oh, it's just, oh. It was so creepy, and it was just so well shot. So I got to give a lot of credit, honestly, to Tyler. He had a really good vision for a lot of the jump scares. So
I remember the cinematography being gorgeous, especially at the end during some of the more intense scenes. And I know you guys had fire, right? At
yes.
what point? Can
oh
you
my gosh, yeah. So we actually didn't know we had a fog machine, and this was all filmed, by the way, in my house. So we had like complete rain over my house for this entire week. And we had a fog machine in the house, and we had a question, is the fog going to light on fire when we start this fire up? And so we kind of didn't do it at first. And then we were like, all right, let's test it out. And it didn't catch fire. So like, all right, we're good. And I said, yeah, I mean, as long as we keep it kind of safe, I think we can pull it off. And, thank God I had Patrick and Tyler there to hold me back, because God knows I need them, or else we'd be having swords on set doing whatnot without a med kit. Oh my goodness. But yeah, we did it safely. And I mean, it was really cool to do on camera. I mean, I was like, yeah, we'll just have fire. We'll just do it. But it worked out well. It was a great shot. And it was definitely it was definitely something that they took as a safety precaution. And I'm glad they did, because, sometimes I just don't think about that kind of stuff. So I'm glad they do take those extra steps.
Yeah. You always need, as directors, people to rein you in, like you said. And of course, Uninvited, I know it went to some festivals. What was it like seeing it in a theater with an audience?
That was a really cool experience. We actually had a lot of conversations about it beforehand, because we were putting money into getting into the theater, and we weren't sure if it was going to be worth it or not. We eventually got to the conclusion that it would be really cool to see it in the theater. And I mean, it's a big step as well. Like I said, this was a big step film. So, I mean, that kind of got us all, that kind of was a big moment for us to, or for me, especially, to see, one of my films premiering in a theater. That was really cool. And I mean, we was debating between the bigger theater or the smaller theater. And we were like, yeah, the smaller theater. We're going to the smaller theater. But I mean, that entire process, Tyler made it so easy. I mean, he really is the one pushing for us to make those risks and, put ourselves out there more. So thank God for him, because I would have been like, oh man, theater, that's a big step. I don't know. And because of Tyler's pushing, we got to that point, and I'm glad we did, because it really was well worth it to see that on screen. And it really it was, even if it wasn't, as much as we hoped it would be, it was still, I mean, seeing yourself on a movie screen, of something that you created, that's got to be a confidence boost. That's got to give us some more fuel to be like, all right, we're making something here, So that entirely was done. I mean, Tyler really pushed for that. He planned it out, had everything. And then that was very much a significant moment, I think, for the studio, especially.
Yeah. And a great kind of full circle moment of seeing where you've come as a filmmaker, seeing something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
On the big screen. And of course, Patrick and Tyler, Patrick Sorbero, Tyler Mignot, who I also had on the show, for those wondering. And something else that you said that was really interesting, that you mentioned your dad was an English professor. I actually majored in English, contrary to popular opinion. Yeah, I was an English major, minored in filmmaking. I'm curious, because I could speak for myself that I very much see an overlap between English studies and filmmaking. I'm curious what that is for you and in your experience.
So actually, my dad went to film school first. He was a screenwriter and wanted to make films. But I mean, filmmaking back in the day, even now, it's still very hard to make a living off of it. So he went into teaching. But I mean, he writes books, he writes scripts and stuff still. But I think, especially for me, my kind of way of writing grew with my English classes. I never really liked the structure of essays, and I've always felt like my way of writing is different, I guess, for some audiences. And so when it comes to writing scripts and getting into that process, it takes a lot of time for me. I think it really, I mean, writing something, but when I really get into like writing something, it really, and I'm passionate about it, it can really open up a lot of, ideas and ways of different scripts and different ways of ending things. So, when I write a script, I very much take my time with it. There's always just so many ways I feel like a script can go. So I feel like, but my writing classes, I mean, growing up, I think a significant amount of them helped me kind of pursue and find my own way of writing my own scripts and writing my own stories. I can't think specifically of the class, but there was a writing class that I had in high school that was it was kind of like writing like film, like from books to film. So like the Hunger Games, stuff like that, from books to film. And that class kind of gave me a little bit of an edge, because I feel like it showed me how narrative and descriptive narrative can be turned into screenplay. And so that kind of bridge gave me a lot of insight, like, oh, my writing can be turned into a screenplay. It can be turned into, kind of like storytelling in a way. And that was kind of like something I've always been able to do on stage. Now I'm going to be able to do this on a writing level. And I think that's where I kind of was like, okay, now filmmaking seems more possible, and more of like a way to navigate,
Yeah, because as soon as you said that you would write a 35-page screenplay, when you want it to be 12 minutes, I'm like, well, that's exactly the things that I would do coming from an English background. And speaking from my experience, because I was always into creative writing, and then when I started writing screenplays, at first I found it oddly boring to write a screenplay, because I'm so used to that descriptive writing, like you said, but then kind of learning more about filmmaking, I found the joy in writing screenplays, because you can write it so much faster than that descriptive writing, like you said. And kind of staying on this and talking about all your experiences in film, what would you like to say with your voice in the film industry?
For me personally, I've always wanted to not only grow as a filmmaker, storyteller, and inspiration, but always to lift others with me. And that's kind of where I stem from when creating Third Drawer Down. I want to create a studio and a space where anyone could ask me, hey, I'm kind of interested in acting, or hey, I'm kind of interested in editing or being on set or doing something in the film industry. Do you think you can help me? And I can go, oh my God, come visit this set. I'll get you to know these people, and I'll get you to connect with everyone, and you can learn, where you want to be in this industry. And I always want to be able to give people creative liberty and creative control and creative freedom. On my set, I usually don't like to shut people up. I like to have suggestions. I like to have ideas. I like to have inspiration. I like to have other people, kind of put themselves out there and give their own, idea of how this could go. I can't think of a film specifically, but I know Uninvited and Paranoid specifically has a lot of improvisation and jokes that we came up with that night on set. So I'm always looking for people to raise their own voice. It takes a lot to be on stage, be on camera, and work your way up to that. And I know a lot of people who have worked their way up to that because they've seen other people do that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to create a space and a community of love and companionship where we can grow together and learn together from each other. And so I really hope Third Drawer Down kind of helps us accomplish that. But with my individual voice, I mean, I always want to speak up for, and I always want to create stories that include and show more diverse audiences and more diverse stories, and things that, kind of honestly, some things that will make you uncomfortable and things that will make you see the world in a different way. I think perspective is a very important thing to have, not only in the film industry, but also just as a person. Perspective is a very powerful thing. And I think through film, you can manipulate that and give people the perspective of certain situations, and that can lead to giving people certain sympathies. So certain things and certain problems that you may not understand, you could watch a film and be like, oh my gosh, that is really hard. Or, like if you don't understand the experience that someone has with maybe like depression or something, and you watch a film that shows that perspective and shows those standpoints, you can really empathize with that and really, you can grow with that. And then maybe if you know someone who's experiencing those kind of things, you can help them, And so it kind of just gives us all this kind of information and this way of looking at the world. And, if you can sympathize, you can empathize, you can even relate to films, and that's what makes them so powerful. And so I really hope to develop my filmmaking to inspire, show, and even teach people, kind of the ups and downs of, certain things in life, and really just to also connect people, because that's kind of why we're here.
Filmmaking, it's all about empathy. It's for that amount of time you could put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And like you said, learn about their experiences and the way that can really strike an emotional chord. And really what you said about Third Draw Down and your aspirations with it to kind of create this communicative or collaborative environment. It's coded so well that even when you're not on set, it still has that same feel. Like when I've worked with Patrick and Tyler, where we go to school at Quinnipiac, that environment is still there. Like on our most recent film, Table for Four, I was doing a lot of those improv lines, and the environment was always fun and fresh and very much still in line with what you wanted to do with it. Absolutely. So it's very much a community that's grown far even outside of even your grasp, and even when you're not on set, it still has that that feel. And I'm also curious, what advice would you have for anyone who wants to join the filmmaking space, who wants to start telling stories? What advice would you have for them to get started and start spreading their voice?
Yeah, absolutely. Create. I mean, for me, I never saw myself making films in high school. Like a Simple Hunt, to be quite fair, I didn't think that film would make it until I was at the premiere, watching it in the audience. And I was like, wow, oh my God, I did it. You really just have to create. I mean, you got to, in any way you can. I mean, painting, drawing, in whatever medium you want. I mean, creating is just such a powerful and human thing that you just got to exercise it. And for me, I mean, even though if it seems impossible, there are people around you that also want to create. And if you just create together, I mean, the more the merrier, I feel. So definitely it's just, you got to find that spark and that inspiration. I mean, and I also say, like, if you create and you shine, others will shine with you, and others will see that and learn from you. I didn't know I was an inspiration to people until someone told me, "Oh my God, you've inspired me a lot." And to me, that's so special. That's like that really resonates with me, because to see who I was inspired by, and then to be an inspiration for someone else. I mean, it's a pattern and it's a chain. So yeah, if you have like that creative, that creative tick, you have that imagination, you have that, will and that desire to make something of your own. I mean, do it in whatever way you can. And then do it well. I mean, practice it, and get good at it, and find people who want to do it with you. Because I mean, Third Drawer Down has given me infinite support, time, and people who really want to do what I want to do. In middle school, I mean, I tried to do a short film at one point, but it's middle school. I mean, we wrote like a really weird script. We were like, oh, we're going to film this on our phones and we're going to edit and everything. And it just, the umph wasn't there. But when I found, people who were actually willing to make a movie and, work with me, that was a whole different arena. I mean, we were really working on films, and now we really are working on films. I mean, it just really is just create and do as much as you can in any way you can. It's just the process of making that step of putting yourself out there authentically into a piece of art. That really is the first step. I mean, a simple hunt, like I said, is the first step for me. So what's the first step for you,
Yeah, and kind of keeping it down the line. You're inspired by somebody else, then you inspire other people, and you kind of keep that going.
Yeah.
And like you said, just pouring your heart and soul into something, there's nothing better than that. And all it does is bring rewards both for other people and yourself. But to continue learning about yourself, I'd like to ask you some fun, get to know you questions. What are some things people might not know about you, like fun facts?
Ooh, fun facts. All right, let's see. I'm quite the night owl, actually. My friends know this about me a lot. I have such a weird sleep schedule. I mean, for me personally, I mean, I know a lot of people like work well in the mornings, but for me, when I'm writing or I'm doing something I'm really intrigued into it, I will be up all night. I will be up all night writing. I mean, for my college essay specifically, I remember this. For my college essay, I really wanted it to be something authentic and something very well written, something that reflected me in the highest of terms. So in order for me to get into my writing area, I did an all-nighter. I wrote it all night, and the next day I was like, yep, done. And I went through the entire day fine. But that's just, I mean, that's kind of my style. At night, it's very quiet. For me, it's my time. It's the place I get to be alone and authentic. So I feel like it's a powerful time for me to write,
Yeah, you essentially for lack of a better term, lock in during during the evening, and then you kind of just, like you said, you just let your thoughts pour out, and there's nothing else to distract you.
Another thing what got me into choreography, which a lot of my close friends know and a lot of people know who are close to me, what got me into choreography and kind of, action in general was boxing. I've been boxing. I actually started boxing in high school. I started kickboxing. And when I started kickboxing, all my friends like to make fun of me for it. Because I said, I think a couple times, and I was like, oh, I was so proud of it. And they're like, oh yeah, Vlad's kickboxing now or whatever. But I stuck to that all throughout high school. And it's kind of like a personal thing that I really hold on to now. Instead of working out now, it helps work on my stamina. But also like boxing has been a great way to get into choreography and kind of like fighting, because it's kind of, you learn the basics of movement and everything and on a battlefield. So that's one of my interests, I guess.
Yeah, and boxing's been a staple of movies too. It's like movies. The favorite sport of movies is boxing.
I don't even need to mention Creed. Yeah. Oh my goodness, Rocky. Oh, love that franchise.
So yeah, so even that bodes well into your work, and I'm sure building discipline, and because that's something that requires a lot of, kind of like you said, stamina, aforementioned discipline, and being able to take the hits and keep going. Absolutely. So even that really much makes sense for what you're doing. And I'm curious, we talk so much about filmmaking. What's one thing you love and one thing you strongly dislike in general?
In general, oof. Well, I gotta think now. I love my free time. I think that's gonna be the number one. I mean, whenever I have, let's say I have a day to do whatever I want, that immediately to me is, oh my gosh, I get to write, I get to work out, I get to take a shower, I get to play video, I get to relax the entire day. That to me is my favorite. When you have free time, never ending free time and no plans, I think is my just favorite thing. What I hate, cold mornings. Oh my goodness. I mean, especially during the school year when you have a college day and you just wake up and it's a cold morning. I mean, there are definitely some days where it was a cold morning and I was just like, yeah, no, not today.
Yeah, you just want to stay in bed.
Oh yeah. Cold mornings. And then the opposite of that is probably like mosquitoes. Oh. You know, you got the winter cold mornings, then you got the summer mosquitoes. Oh, it's just the two worst things that keep going, you know. Ugh.
Yeah, and evil demons in your house when you're just trying to
Oh
hang
my
out with your friends.
geez. I mean, there have been nights where legitimately, and I can't stand mosquitoes, where I will get bit in the middle of the night or it'll fly in my ear, and then I'll turn on all my lights and I will hunt it down before I go back to bed because I can't stand it. So I hate mosquitoes.
Maybe your next horror movie.
Oh my gosh, don't even.
Don't even plant that seed.
Yeah.
And you've gotten into it a little bit here too, but I'm curious, what are some of your hopes and dreams professionally or personally?
In the field of film, I really hope to be known for my storytelling. I mean, there's a lot, and I know a lot of people say, you know, oh, I want to be famous, or I want to be, you know, I want to get an Oscar. But you know, as I've grown up in the field of film, I got to be honest, I've grown less attracted to the idea of getting an Oscar. I mean, it's kind of great and everything, but I honestly just feel that awards to me, they can be meaningful, but for me, the true meaningfulness is when I make a film and it gets someone else to really be inspired. If I make a film and someone comes up to me and they say, wow, I've never seen that story told before, or wow, that really resonated with me, or wow, that really made me emotional, that to me is what I'm going for. I want to create stories, I want to create films, and I want to create content and tell, you know, stories in any way I can, whether it's through films or whether it's through, you know, even YouTube or podcasting or video making or even skit making, just any way I can. I want to be able to inspire, tell stories, and show perspectives of really hard times that people go through that other people can learn from and help. I want to grow community and I want to grow love. That's kind of what I want to do. And and through filmmaking, you know, I'm kind of learning more and more. That's the direction I'm going in. You know, I'm not trying to be one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I'm trying to be really good in my own craft and really good for myself. And that kind of stems on personally, like I want to be able to, you know, personally, I want to be able to connect with as many people as I can through my films. I want to be able to, you know, I want to be able to grow community and love as much as I can personally and professionally. And that's kind of what we're doing kind of in Third Drawer Down. And I keep talking in Third Drawer Down, you know, I want to be able to have multiple films going on at the same time. And I want to be able to, you know, have so many people working on this project and on these projects that, you know, we're just all able to coexist and have just multiple projects going at one time. It's just my dream to have, you know, film after film after film. And I'm able to look at these and be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Oh my God, that's so cool. You know? So really just, you know, creating community, meeting new people, and, you know, imagining together is kind of the goal I want for filmmaking.
Yeah. And really like that question, the personally and the professionally for artists, it very much kind of becomes one in a way, where your life very much reflects your art, so on and so forth. And of course we all reflect the art that we love growing up. What are some of your favorite movies and why do they resonate with you?
Oof, this is a really hard one for me, actually. I don't actually have like a favorite movie of all time. I think there's just too many movies out there and I love them all for just specifically different reasons. But I will say a couple movies that I will highlight that I think are just astonishing and just movies that I rewatch all the time. Get Out, I think, is one of them. Have you seen Get Out?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good. Okay. I feel that movie for me is just, it's a big step, I think, in the horror genre, because Jordan Peele is making the audience uncomfortable. And I think it's also just such a beautiful film because depending on, and for the first time, I feel like depending on who you are as a person and how you've grown up in the cultural backgrounds that we have, black or white, I mean, it's an entirely different perspective when you're watching the film. And it masters that in a really good way. I mean, when I analyzed it and I wrote pages and pages of notes on this, there are lines in there. There are lines, details all throughout the film that resonate so well. I mean, it's just, I can't go into it because I'll never stop talking, but the details and in like even the minute, like just I forget the word, but like just the patterns of movement, even just like the camera movements, everything about the movie really alludes to just double perspective. It's just so well done. So that right, I highlight that movie all the time because I mean, I've watched it with my friends before, and I mean, I get a whole different perspective from it than they do, and I think that's a really powerful thing in movies, especially that alongside Sinners. I cannot not bring up Sinners. I mean, it's just that combination, I think, and especially Sinners, because the combination of music, storytelling, culture, all in one is something that I'm exactly looking for in my own filmmaking. So watching Sinners was probably one of the most emotional theater experiences I've ever had. Just because Sinners very culturally aligns with kind of how I grew up, and kind of the family that I've known, and kind of the things I've grown up, learning about in my own culture. And so Sinners was a big highlight on, how to put that in filmmaking and how to make that very beautiful. So those are two just very amazing movies that I love always to highlight. And then on top of that, I can't not bring up Spider-Man with the Spider-Verse. That I think was the first superhero film in theaters that I was just like, this is my favorite. And I think till this day, Miles Morales is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And just also just the animation style and the craft of that specifically. I mean, I hope in the future that I can do voice acting. That's something I very much want to start trying out. But I think Spider-Verse is just astonishing in its storytelling, its culture, and also just its visuals. Oh my gosh, the visuals of it are just amazing. So those are kind of like the three films I love to just always bring up and talk about. But those are films that I can rewatch, and almost see something new every time I watch it. And those are the kind of films that I feel like I hold on to desperately. Films that you can rewatch and see something new every single time, because that's a new perspective. I feel like that's a new way of looking at it. So
yeah, three modern classics that kind of, like you said, are very timeless and in their own ways, quite literally with Sinners, because they're vampires.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But very much films that kind of, like you said, that very much adhere to what Third Draw Down Studios is trying to do, which is create stories that create a conversation while also adhering to a lot of genres and giving people visual spectacles and a lot of really great work. And overall, this was a really great episode, Vladimir. So thank you so much for your
I
time.
had a wonderful job talking about myself. No, really, I had a great time. It was great. Actually, reflecting back with all these questions really gave me a lot of perspective on like how far I've come personally as a filmmaker. So I gotta say thank you for highlighting my achievements, because I personally, for me, this is kind of going off topic, but I've always had a tough time kind of like establishing my achievements sometimes. So these questions, they actually really help me to, kind of see those achievements and be like, wow, I really am making it far in filmmaking.
Yeah. And that's something I always enjoy with the show, to kind of reflect on experiences. And I've always seen a lot of your work working with Patrick and Tyler. And then you were one of my, seeing all the stuff you're doing, I'm like, I have to get you on here. So
I'm so glad,
for sharing all this. And I'm curious.
You know what this means?
Sorry,
we're
say
gonna
it
work on
again.
a film together in the future.
100%.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, and I'm curious if you have any motivational words or plugs or anything you want to leave the audience with.
Have the ability to accept when you could be wrong.
Mhm.
Have the ability to say sorry, and have the ability to never stop dreaming. Always keep
Mhm.
dreaming about what you could be, because once you are comfortable with what you are, you'll stop growing.
Mhm.
And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that constant evolution, which is very much a testament to your work and the great community you've founded, and being able to give young filmmakers an outlet to continue growing. That's something
Absolutely.
that I've really benefited from. So thank you for sharing all these
I'm so
experiences,
glad. Yeah.
and I'm hyped to work with you in the future.
Me too.
So yeah, thank you so much for your time today,
Thank you so
Vladimir.
much. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time today. As always, this is Ryan Ziaks with the Zicast, where everyone has a story. Signing off. Thank you so much for listening.